Hey, this is John Lee Dumas of Entrepreneur on Fire. And when I'm not interviewing inspiring entrepreneurs, I'm listening to Stephanie O'Brien on the Moved by Purpose podcast.
When I am who I always hoped I would be, I'm the most influential I can possibly be. That's the best me following my greatest purpose.
Are you longing to know what your purpose is? Are you on the wrong career path? Do you feel like there must be more to life? Don't worry, there's hope. It's time to be moved by purpose. Now your host, Stephanie O'Brien.
Hey, it is Stephanie O'Brien, and today's episode is podcast episode 43. And today, of course, reminders of the Purpose Pursuit program is still open for enrollment. So be sure to come on over to movedbypurpose.net to find out more about that program. The last 2 episodes, or even 3 episodes, I talk more in depth about who it's for. This program is definitely for the person who is feeling very unsatisfied and discontent in their current job. Maybe you're a stay-at-home mom. Maybe you are a brand new college graduate who is feeling a little bit overwhelmed at their new job and disappointed that it's not working out so well for them. Maybe you've been in the same position for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and you know it's time to change, but you're just too afraid to do it, or you don't know how, where to begin, and what you're going after. So this program is definitely for you. So come on over to movebypurpose.net and check out Purpose Pursuit. So today I am excited to introduce the guest today. This is Mike Henry Sr., and he is the founder of the Lead Change Group. I found him over at Twitter, and he's a wonderful guy. He helps leaders at all levels gain perspective and accept responsibility, both for themselves and for the impact they can make in an organization or a community. He speaks, consults, and coaches individuals and groups to lead through relationships regardless of their position or power in an organization. He's a wonderful person, and I am excited to get on with this interview. Welcome to the show, Mike. It is such an honor to have you today.
Thanks for having me.
The first question I usually ask all of my guests is just to try to get a better understanding of your background, your working background, the journey that you have been on to get you to where you are today.
So that may be the only question you get to ask.
Yeah, usually it is.
In the winter of 2008, I found out that the company that I was working for was for sale, and it was not likely that I would be hired by the new company. And so I started planning what I was going to do. It was going to be the 4th time that I had been laid off. And I counted up at that time that I had worked for 25 different people at 13 companies in the 28 years after I had been out of college. And I just realized that I didn't want to get on the merry-go-round again. I have been in 4 different industries. I've been in 4 different areas of the business. I just kind of, in one way you could say I have a real hard time holding down a job. In another way, I have like job ADD. And so I would change jobs a lot. I've changed people that I reported to. What I learned in all those things was how to be valuable. And so in January of 2009, I kind of set out on my own. I decided that I would use all that experience, those variety of people that I'd worked with and for, and those situations I'd been in, to try and start a leadership consulting business. And then also early that year, listened to a webinar where somebody said, hey, you can start a group on LinkedIn. So I clicked the button in March of 2009 to start a group on LinkedIn called the Lead Change Group. The business ended up being called the Lead Change Group. We ended up then turning the Lead Change Group into a nonprofit organization. But the whole history of those 28 years and all those employers, it was just a variety of decisions that I made, from trying to find purpose really was a big part of it. When engaged in a successful endeavor, I found that I could get so totally focused that when the success was either achieved or it wasn't achieved, and I looked at where I was in my career, and I wasn't on my path anymore. I was on somebody else's path, and I didn't like it. And so then I didn't have any skills for maneuvering my present employer back to my path. So then I changed jobs. And this inability to understand my own purpose and my own direction is what created most of the career chaos that I experienced. I used to tell people that I was career challenged. You know, that if you looked up career challenge in the dictionary, it would say, see Mike Henry. And because of all the different things. And another thing I used to tell people is that I was really good at cleaning up messes. But in a lot of places, what they would do after I cleaned up the mess is they would bring me a shirt with my name on it and ask me to be the janitor. And I said, no, I don't, just because I cleaned up the mess doesn't mean I'm volunteering to be the janitor. And so that was just kind of how, those were the slogans of my career until my time in the Lead Change Group beginning in 2009. The last 5 years, or almost 6 years now, I spent 3 years working on the Lead Change Group full-time and consulting, and didn't produce the income that we needed. And so in late 2011, I started getting very specific about the type of job that I wanted. Through some references and some friends and some introductions, I ended up getting offered that kind of a position in early 2012 and took the position that has become the position I have today, even it's morphed since 2012. What I did learn in my 3 years in the Lead Change Group, I basically kind of created my own little personal mission statement, which is to elevate purpose and mobilize people. And
that's a strong statement.
Well, and it's the common thing that all these now 14 different companies and 27 different bosses' jobs that I have in common. When we elevate our purpose, we find energy, and that energy makes life fun. And there's no sense living a life that drains your energy and is no fun. But I've learned that I can apply my passion for elevating purpose and mobilizing people in a full-time job or on my own, in my church, or, I just came from a nonprofit board meeting. People enjoy thinking about their most elevated purpose, and it mobilizes them. And so that's why I think you and I have a lot in common, and why I was excited to have the conversation with you today.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. And I think the listener listening in on this show today, I really hope that they find encouragement, because your purpose, like you said, it's like fuel to your fire. It's the motivator, it's energy, it's life. It's like the reason of your existence.
Yeah.
So it's very, very critical to get in alignment with it.
Well, and it's kind of interesting, too. So we started out talking in the Lead Change Group. We kind of landed on a phrase. We first started talking about leadership in general, and then we started focusing on what we called character-based leadership. And immediately when we came up with that term, there was a group of people that were associated with us that wanted me to create a list of character traits. And I kept saying, no, we don't want to compete. I mean, have you ever read a list of character traits where you didn't believe that you needed more of most of those things?
Yeah.
And so why make another one, right?
Right.
So the definition that we landed on was character-based leadership is influence based on who you are and not your power or your position. And what I learned is where purpose comes in with that is your who you are generates this energy to do those things that are meaningful to you. And your passion for doing that without someone else telling you inspires other people. And it causes them to be influenced by you. And that's character-based leadership. It's very focused on being purposeful and being authentic. And so my who I am, pursuing my highest purpose, generates my greatest influence.
Very powerful. Can you say that again?
I hope so. I make this stuff up while I'm going. But my who I am, pursuing my greatest purpose, generates my greatest influence. And my best me, really, right? Because we all can be not so good us, right? You've seen the Rob Lowe DirecTV commercials, right? Where this is the cool Rob Lowe with DirecTV, and this is the not so cool Rob Lowe with cable. We can be not so cool us. I love the movie Scrooged. I get to watch the movie Scrooged again. There's a line that Bill Murray says at the end. He says that Christmas Eve is the one day of the year when we are who we always hoped we would be.
Yeah.
Right? And character-based leadership says that when I am who I always hoped I would be, I'm the most influential I can possibly be. That's the best me following my greatest purpose.
Yeah, it's so powerful. I feel once you get the clarity of your purpose and you just know what you're here for, what your mission is, you become an unstoppable force. Mm-hmm. And no matter what obstacles get put in your way, because they still get put in your way. In fact, sometimes I think there might be even more obstacles that you stumble across the more purposeful you are, but they don't stop you. And I love how you mentioned too, because I think people, I don't know, they think purpose and career are the same. And while I think you need to apply your purpose in your work and they need to be in alignment, they're not the same. Like you mentioned with going on the path of self-employment and then returning back to traditional work, once you got the clarity of your mission or your purpose, you knew exactly where to look. And so you made sure that you were going to be satisfied or fulfilled in whatever type of work you were doing because of that alignment.
Yeah, well, at the risk of misrepresenting this, if my wife ever listens to this, then I have to be full disclosure here. It's extremely hard for me to do that. I mean, I don't believe it's very easy at all. There are a lot of days when I feel like a coward or a traitor, right? Like I traded my who I am for a paycheck. And I refuse to live like that. And so I have to get up the next morning and try again. I haven't been blessed or given the opportunity or been successful or whatever you want to credit it with to be able to kind of imagine my own life as my dream. And I read a lot of people who can do that. And sometimes I'm envious or jealous because I don't feel like I am. I feel like for all 27 bosses and for all 14 companies and for all 32 or 3 years out of college, now 34 years out of college, wow, I have had to kind of make the best of it. It's never been what I had hoped it would be. And yet my who I am won't let me give up. I don't want to look my grandkids in the face when they become teenagers and tell them, well, you know, I just kind of gave up on all my dreams and settled for a paycheck. And so I resist the inertia and the effort and the way the world is kind of set to force me into this kind of industrial revolution box where I just need to shut up and go be my job. I don't want to go down easy. I want to be a person who gave it everything he could to make as much of a difference as he could every day. And I'm constrained by the need to have a regular paycheck, but I am not defeated by that.
Yeah. I really thank you for that transparency because some people that set out to pursue their dream and they want to do the whole self-employment venture and they're not as successful as they hope to be or wasn't sustainable and they do need to go return to the steady and stable income or paycheck. I could imagine the sense of defeat or failure at something like that. Like you said, you're not letting that defeat you. Like you continue dreaming and well, it just sounds like the title of my show, like you're moved by purpose. You keep going and you're moved by it. And the decisions that you make are based off of that draw and that call. And I think that you have a wonderful hope. You know that you don't want to settle for the paycheck. But sometimes the reality is we do need to keep a roof over our head and we do need to keep food on the table. And
yeah, exactly.
So sometimes you have to, for a moment, kind of readjust your activities or your efforts to kind of get a little bit stable and then rethink it, re-strategize it, and try to go for it again.
Yeah.
The fact that you're not giving up is huge.
Yeah, I appreciate that. To me, there's a couple of lessons that I learned. One, I sound very certain even about my purpose, and that's probably misrepresented as well. The only phrase that keeps popping into my head right now is often wrong, but never in doubt. So I have been morphing my purpose for 35 years or longer, and I am often wrong, but never in doubt. When I started out in the Lead Change Group, I thought that I was going to be a blogger. But then when I saw people like Dan Rockwell, the leadership freak, when I saw people who are really good at blogging, I realized I didn't want to exert the energy to be a really good blogger. When I saw people who are really good leadership coaches and really good public speakers and really good this or that, I realized that I'm probably not going to be able to forego all these other options. I like too many things, and so specializing in one of them enough to be really good at those things, good enough to make a living as a full-time leadership coach or a full-time public speaker or those things, I had trouble making myself do that. And so my purpose, even today, being able to tell you that statement, I don't feel like I live it a lot, but it's the most recent version of this that I hang on to. I want to act with certainty toward it every day until I find some new facts. And then I want to be willing to go ahead and go, oh, well, you know what? So that was only some percentage right. Now I need to modify it a little more. But the other thing that I learned, and this is so important, part of my story, and I hope people don't feel like I'm preaching. So about 26 years ago, I think it was, that I became a Christian. And that's when I really learned that it was okay to be wrong. If somebody else really created the world, then my opinion of it may not be right. And so when I found things in the world where I thought I knew the answer and I was wrong, I had to kind of get used to being wrong. But the minute you get used to being wrong, then you're able to learn. And that's when I started learning again. Post age 30, I started learning again. I spent probably from the time I was 15 to when I was 30 trying to be right all the time. Now, I'm okay with being wrong, and it helps me learn. And so, yes, I'm often wrong, but I'm seldom in doubt. Today, that's my purpose, is to elevate, purpose, and mobilize people. It gives me energy, and it helps me pull me forward into the future, and that's good enough for today.
Always needing to be right. I think, well, I don't want to stereotype people, but I think at least even for me, that's a fight for me as well. It's like the younger generations, I think, are maybe afraid to be wrong. But when you can accept and almost submit to the reality that you aren't going to know everything, and there's no way you can, and you're not the one in control of everything. And when you submit to, like you said, just submit to God, submit to His truth and the humility. It's a stance of humility. And then it's almost, I don't know, when I was starting to learn, I'm still in my own process of learning teachability and humility. And I don't know, the more you accept it, the more almost free you feel or safe you feel. I guess knowing that something greater is at work and in control. And if you're wrong, it's okay.
Yeah. There is a power. There's a power that comes from the willingness to be wrong. I tell people that I like to get my first screw up of the day over with early, right? Because then we're not worried about it anymore. We're free to swing. We're not all choked up. They use the phrase choke up. I'm a golfer. You grip the club too tight and you choke, right? Or you choke whatever you're holding on to. If I can embrace the idea that I'm going to screw up and it's okay, then I'm that much more dangerous because I'm willing to screw up. And I tell people that I want to screw up in gear. I would like my default mistake to be that I did something I shouldn't have, not that I didn't do something I should have, right? So I want to screw up in gear. And that way, that's the one kind of mistake that I want to rule out, is the mistake of inaction or of doing something 50%. When I'm on, I want to be all on, and when I'm off, I want to be all off. If we're here, let's give it all we have. And if we're not going to give it all we have, then let's stay home.
Yeah. You speak my language.
Well, just sometimes I feel like the poster child for how to get up tomorrow with energy when you screw up as much as I do. You know what I mean? But that's okay.
Yeah. Oh, I get that. If you're going to do it, I just do it with confidence, even if you are very wrong. Mm-hmm. At least you committed and you were all in, and no lukewarm here.
Yeah.
Like, you're right. It's like you're either hot or cold. Just pick one.
Yeah.
So I think that might be just a character, like you said, as a Christian. I'm also a Christian, and maybe that desire to be all in or all out or hot or cold, and like almost and maybe this is a strong word, lukewarm really gets me. I don't know why, and maybe that's just because we're created in God's image, and it also doesn't sit well with him that well either. Yeah. So I don't know. And I've just noticed that the lukewarm people or habits, that just really fires me up. It's like, get off the fence either way, So I get that totally. Well, thank you, Mike, so much. I could talk with you for so long about this, and I can just sense the passion that you have for what you do in this message that you share. The leadership and your story is just really inspiring and really quite encouraging. And I know there's just tons of listeners right now that just get that, like they get you. And I think your transparency and vulnerability is very real and something that the world really needs. So I thank you for that, because we can showcase our best moments and our greatest success. And that's something to be celebrated and something to be proud of. But I think more people can relate to the not so good moments. Yeah. And this wasn't as successful because, I don't know, I feel like the world just showcases newsworthy things like these epic successes and all these things that just aren't reality to most people. And so you see that and like, yes, those are inspiring and motivating, and you can get a dose of hope and think, okay, me too, I can do that. But most of the time it's not as pretty or as graceful or not as successful as fast as they wanted or in the way that they had hoped it turned out. So stories like yours, and that's why I really try to have a guest on that are willing to be real about their failures or about what's really going on. So I thank you again so much for that.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And for me, just keep plugging, right? Get up and try it again tomorrow. And the past is a lesson and tomorrow is opportunity. Mm-hmm.
So I would love for people, I know people are going to definitely want to connect with you. So how could they reach out to you and find where you are?
So probably the best way to do it is basically everything is Mike Henry SR, Mike Henry Sr. My LinkedIn profile is linkedin.com/in/Mike Henry SR. Twitter profile is the same. I'm Mike at MikeHenrySenior.com on email, and I'm happy to be as helpful as I can. I'm still an author. We recently kind of transitioned the Lead Change Group into another phase where I have a friend, Becky Robinson from Weaving Influence, is managing and organizing that whole effort. I still write over there. In fact, I have a blog post up on that site finally today. I haven't had one in quite a while, but she put a post up there today, and it's about purpose as well. And it partly was my own mind kind of trying to prepare for this conversation that we were having today, because the reality is the energy for being our best us comes from the idea that we could achieve that purpose. Just Google Mike Henry SR and you'll probably find me or something silly that I've said somewhere, and I'll be happy to connect. You're
full of tweetable quotes in this interview. I was like, man, I'm not writing fast enough, but he just gave me so many tweetables right now. So you're good just quoting just the statements you say so eloquently. Well, thank you again. I will make sure to put all of those links in the show notes. So make sure you come on over to movedbypurpose.net and find the latest episode and search in the search box for Mike Henry SR, and you will find it and be able to connect over to him. So thank you again, Mike.
Thank
Have
you,
a wonderful day.
But the minute you get used to being wrong, then you're able to learn. And that's when I started learning again. Post age 30, I started learning again. I spent probably from the time I was 15 to when I was 30 trying to be right all the time.
So there you have it. That was Mike Henry Sr., and I trust that you guys got a load of inspiration and value from this interview, and I want to thank you for listening in. We are getting very close to the holidays, very close to Christmas, and I'm sure this is a very busy and overwhelming time for all of you. But don't forget to take care of yourself while you're busy taking care of others and taking care of all of the crazy things that go on with the holidays. Come on over to movedbypurpose.net. Make sure you stay connected with me by subscribing to get the latest deals, exclusive content for my subscribers only. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and write a review in iTunes. That helps me get found tremendously. So if you listen in regularly and are finding value, don't forget to do that. That makes a really big difference. Also, don't be a stranger. Come on over, let me know you're listening. I always value hearing from you. It's those that don't remain anonymous. That's really the only way you get known. So make sure you put yourself in front of people and let them know that you are there. And have a very Merry Christmas.